Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. My reading week has been divided between manga, which I really enjoyed, and poetry, which was disappointing. I'm going to start with the manga and then the poetry. So, last Friday, I read the third volume of Still Ball Run, the seventh part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure by Hirohiko Araki. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a long running manga series. It's either past or nearing 40 years. Each part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is its own story. So each part is a manga series on its own. Although the first six parts tell one overarching story that ends in the universe being rebooted or a new universe being born. And Still Ball Run is the first series set in this new universe where new versions of characters from the first part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure appear. So, Still Ball Run is takes place during the Still Ball Run race, which is a cross-country horse race that starts in San Diego, California, and ends in New York City, New York. The main character is Johnny Joestar, a former jockey who is paralyzed from the waist down. One day he meets a mysterious Neapolitan named Gyro Sapelli, who has a pair of still balls that he can spin at incredibly fast speeds. And these balls, when pressed against an object, either animate or inanimate, can imbue certain effects. In Johnny's case, it gives him the ability to temporarily walk. So, to learn more about Gyro and these balls, Johnny joins the race and quickly ends up becoming something of a rival companion to Gyro. Over the course of the race, a number of competitors, including Johnny, begin to develop superhuman abilities called stands, which is a mainstay of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. And Johnny's figuring out how to manipulate his own stand abilities, which are somewhat similar to the still balls that Gyro possesses, but they're centered in Johnny's case in his fingernails. At the moment, all he can do really is fire his fingernails off at high speed like a gun, and the nails regenerate. But a number of other competitors have also begun to develop stands of their own. Over the course of this volume, we learn a little bit more about Gyro, of why he's entered the race, but also that there is something else going on, that the race itself and its route there's an ulterior motive on the part of the people who set it up. They're looking for something, and Johnny and Gyro end up getting involved in the pursuit of these mysterious objects that are the target for the race. This volume includes two arcs. The first one sees Johnny and Gyro being captured by a psychotic little kid whose stand is that his mouth basically is a fishing rod, and he can use it to lure in and capture his opponents. In the second arc, Johnny and Gyro meet Diego Brando, who, for most of the earlier parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, was the overarching main antagonist, known as Dio Brando. In this case, Diego is just a jockey who has an incredibly heartbreaking story. This version of Dio is really, but he makes an appearance in this arc as a bit more active and ends up becoming an obstacle, an opponent for Johnny and Gyro as he turns into a dinosaur. And a lot of rest stop in this race ends up becoming populated by dinosaurs. So I had a lot of fun with this. This was really great. I'm really enjoying the relationship between Gyro and Johnny, the race, the secrets behind it, the proliferation of racers and not racers with stand abilities and how that's going to affect things. It's just, this is going to be a wild ride, and I cannot wait for Volume 4, which should come out in November. So on Saturday, I read 3 volumes of One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, volumes 58, 59, and 60 in this 3-volume omnibus edition. So One Piece is another long-running manga series. It is approaching its 30th year in a few years. One Piece is about a young man named Monkey D. Luffy, who, when he was a young child, became a mascot for a pirate crew led by red-haired Shanks. On the penultimate visit of the red-haired pirates to Luffy's hometown, Luffy ate a devil fruit, a fruit that grants its consumer superhuman abilities. In Luffy's case, it turned him into a rubber man, at the cost of not being able to swim. So if Luffy finds himself in the water, he sinks like a stone. 10 years later, Luffy himself sets out to sea to become a pirate and build a crew and look for the One Piece, a fabled treasure that will allow its discoverer to claim the title of King of the Pirates. These 3 volumes sees Luffy's crew mostly absent. This arc, these 3 volumes, for the most part, cover the Paramount War. The Paramount War was set off when Luffy's older adoptive brother, Ace, was captured by a pirate named Blackbeard. Both Ace and Blackbeard served under a pirate named Whitebeard, who for decades was one of the most powerful pirate captains in the world. And at this point in the series, in the story, he's one of the 4 most powerful pirate captains alongside Shanks. The Blackbeard turns Ace over to the Marines, whose Fleet Admiral Sengoku decides to publicly execute Ace. It's revealed that Ace is biologically the son of Gol D. Roger, who was King of the Pirates 20 years before the series began. And it's his treasure that a whole generation of pirates are looking for to become King of the Pirates, including Luffy. Sengoku's other plan, so basically to kill the son of Goldie Roger, is to basically rip out the heart of this generation of pirates. But he's also hoping to lure Whitebeard into a trap, because if he can kill Whitebeard, one of the most powerful pirate captains, this can also rip out the heart of this generation of piracy. Unfortunately for Sengoku, he failed to take into consideration 2 characters whose presence in this conflict make things not go his way at all. One, of course, is Luffy, who, when he discovers that Ace has been captured and is set to be executed, invades the notorious prison Impel Down to rescue his brother. That fails, but Luffy does free a number of powerful prisoners, many of whom were former antagonists of earlier arcs. So they're heading towards Marineford, the Navy headquarters, to rescue Ace. Also, of course, Whitebeard does invade Marineford himself to rescue Ace. But the biggest impact, the character who has the most impact on things not going Sengoku's way, is Blackbeard himself, who took the opportunity to, when he captured Ace, to worm his way into the Seven Warlords of the Sea. These are pirates who are incredibly powerful, but have switched their allegiance to the world government. And Blackbeard used this position so that while Luffy was invading Impel Down, he invaded Impel Down himself and took the opportunity to recruit a number of notorious prisoners to his own crew. And so while Luffy's presence at the Paramount War sort of turned the tide, built up his own legend, and impacted things greatly, ultimately Blackbeard's presence led to really him being the only winner of this conflict, and makes him a major antagonist for the rest of the series. And the war ends on a very somber, bittersweet note. Well, more bitter note than no sweet. As while Ace is temporarily rescued, he is shortly thereafter killed by one of the three admirals, Akainu, who was going after Luffy when Ace sacrificed himself to save his brother. And Luffy is rendered catatonic. And so much of the later part of the war is trying to evacuate Luffy from the field of battle. This is, in fact, Whitebeard's final order to his crew. And so the rest of these volumes, particularly volume 60, is a sort of breather for coming to terms with what happened, Luffy recognizing that he needs to train, and also a flashback arc that looks at the relationship between Luffy and Ace and another young man named Sabo when they were in their 10 for Ace and Sabo and 7 for Luffy. And that arc looks at them. So after Shanks left, Luffy's grandfather Garp, who is one of a Navy vice or Marine vice admiral, takes Luffy and puts him under the care of a bandit named Curly Dedan, who at this point is also taking care of Ace. And so the two initially have a bit of a rocky relationship. Ace is already friends with Sabo, and eventually Luffy joins in, and the three become blood brothers. But the kingdom where Luffy was born, the Goa Kingdom, is unpleasant. It's very unpleasant. The royal family the king of Goa is a piece of shit. And one day he learns that a celestial dragon, one of the world nobles, is coming to visit. And so he decides to destroy the slums of the capital city. And Sabo, who is revealed to be a noble, is taken back home, and Luffy and Ace are forced to help set up the explosives by a pirate crew that would destroy the slums. And this happens. The survivors are taken in by the World Revolutionary Army. Ace and Luffy escape, and Sabo seemingly dies when he heads out to sea to become a pirate. So this was really good. And the end of Volume 60 really has me pumped to read more One Piece. In fact, I wish I had continued reading One Piece into Saturday. but I didn't. But let's jump forward a few days to the 1st of October. So, starting in October and running through what I foresee to be the first 5 days, so I will complete this on this coming Sunday, is Demon Slayer by Koyoharu Gotouge. Demon Slayer is about two siblings, Tanjiro and Nezuko Kamado. One day while Tanjiro is away from home selling charcoal, his family is attacked by the demon Muzan, leaving the entire family slaughtered except for Nezuko, who has been transformed into a demon herself. When Tanjiro returns, Nezuko attempts to attack her brother, and Tanjiro attempts to fend her off and figure out what's going on. This is when a young man named Giyu appears. Giyu is a high-ranking member of the Demon Slayer Corps, and Giyu attempts to rescue Tanjiro and kill Nezuko. Tanjiro attempts to defend his sister, and when it looks like Giyu is going to off Tanjiro first, Nezuko defends Tanjiro. This weird, strange sibling dynamic that one would not expect from a newly born demon gives Giyu pause, and he decides to allow Tanjiro, or to recommend to Tanjiro, to seek out his teacher and become a demon slayer himself. So Tanjiro does so. He becomes a demon slayer, and he carries his sister on his back in a lacquered cabinet or chest so that she's out of the sun. And they go on a number of adventures, hunting down demons, seeking to destroy Muzan, and find a way to return Nezuko back to her human form. Along the way, they make a number of friends, including Zenitsu and Inosuke, and also change many of the Hashira for the better, and encounters with Tanjiro. Tanjiro is very notable for being able to empathize not only with the victims of the demons, but the demons themselves, who are more often than not incredibly broken people who were taken advantage of by Muzan while they were still human. So I have read the first 6 volumes. I will be reading to volume 9 in a few hours, and I've been loving it. This series is really good. It didn't last all that long. It only has 23 volumes, but it is really delightful. So far, I have read up to an arc where Tanjiro and Zenitsu and Inosuke are recovering at Butterfly Mansion after going through the ringer at Nagumo Mountain, which was populated by spider demons. And also Tanjiro's confrontation with the Hashira when they discover that he is traveling around with a demon. Although the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps vouches for them. So I'm going to talk a lot more about Demon Slayer on Monday after I have completed the series. So look forward to that. Now, on to the more disappointing parts of my reading. So, on Sunday, I reread 2 volumes of poetry. The Swamp Monster at Home and Larvae of the Near Stars by Catherine W. Carter. I don't know why, but for some reason, as I was rereading The Swamp Monster at Home, I really wasn't feeling it. I just was not into the collection as much as I remember being when I've read it previously. Although I'm not entirely sure if I've reread this once or a few times, or if this is actually my second reading of it, that this is my first reread. I don't quite remember. Now, things did improve with Larvae of the Nearest Stars. This is my favorite of Catherine W. Carter's collections. And things did pick up as I reread this. So this was a bit more positive, but on the whole, I was disappointed with how things turned out. And again, a lot of Carter's work is rooted in the environment with a pagan sensibility. And then on Monday, I thought about rereading for the first time, for sure because this came out this year, by Stone and Needle. This is her most recent collection. And I just really wasn't feeling it. I don't know why, but I wasn't feeling it. So I put it aside and did a tri-chapter of Eagle Against the Sun by Ronald H. Spector. This is a history of the Second World War in the Pacific with a focus on America's war against Japan. And it's going to be a while before I get to this, if ever. I really did not care for what I read, which probably is an indication that I need to take a break from history for the moment. But that's a topic for another day. And so then on Tuesday, I came back to this and it didn't work either. So, yeah. Anyway, maybe I also need to take a break from poetry. I don't know. So, my reading plans for this coming week. So, today and over the weekend, finishing up Demon Slayer by Koyoharu Gotouge. And then on Monday, I will be starting on Bleak House by Charles Dickens as part of my Victober reading plan, which is Dickens versus Trollope. Now, I have not heard yet on whether or not my September manga orders have shipped. So I don't know exactly when they will come. As of right now, if everything goes according to plan, I'll probably read them in between Bleak House and The Way We Live Now. I think that'll be the plan. Or if things don't quite work out, then whenever I get them in between whatever I read to sort of cover the gaps of whatever. And that also makes me wonder what I should do with my October plans. When my October manga order comes in, because it's going to be immense. And since I'm planning on reading Naruto in November, I'm not entirely sure when that's going to happen. So I need to work on that. But anyway, that's a subject for a video in a few weeks. Anyway, BookTube. My BookTube plans for next week. On Monday, I will have a discussion on Demon Slayer. And I will probably mention the series again on Friday. But not as much depth. Obviously, because I would have talked about it a lot more on Monday. On Tuesday, I will try to do a tag video. There's one that I want to do that is just not quite working out. And I need to think about what I want to do to make it work for me. Wednesday, there won't be a video because my mom has a doctor's appointment and I'll be going with her. And then Thursday, maybe another tag video. And then, of course, Friday will be weekly reads. But I may also make other videos if the mood strikes me. Anyway, BookTube, until I see you next week, thank you. Have a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. And I will see you hopefully on Monday. So until then, thank you and stay safe.